This is Basic Atari 8-bit podcast.
I had a password system where if you didn't guess the password correctly, you had to wait a little bit longer each time you missed it, so that somebody who was trying to break the password with brute force method would end up having to wait days and days for their next chance to make a guess.
This is an interview episode of Antic, the Atari 8-bit podcast. I'm Kevin Savitz. Harry Guiremand wrote SynChron, a calendar application, which was published by Synapse Software in 1983. The Synapse catalog says, use SynChron daily to keep track of your personal calendar and appointments, easily locate birthdays, mortgage payments, or any other referenced items, find scrolling entry area with useful printout capabilities, helpful for personal time management and perfect for busy families. Store up to 2 years worth of entries, personal passwords ensure privacy, find scrolling text window for daily journal. It costs $39.95. This interview took place on April 15, 2016. Thanks to Wade at the Inverse ATASCII podcast for his research and suggestions. You can hear Wade's thorough review and walkthrough of SynChron at the Inverse ATASCII podcast.
I was fascinated by all things technical, and when the Atari 2600 came out, I thought it was the latest thing. I thought I would see about programming it, and so I got one and got the manual for programming it, and started to put together a little application.
Did you end up being were you an employee of Synapse, or did you do SynChron as a freelance thing?
I was just freelancing with them.
Okay, so how did you get hooked up with them? How did that relationship start?
I don't recall. I mean, it's so long ago. I don't recall how I contacted them, but I had this idea for this calendar program, and I think his name was Randy Chen there, who was the manager of what they called productivity apps, and he was interested in that, so we went ahead with the deal, and I put together this little calendar program for them.
Mm-hmm. And you did it in Forth, is that right?
Honestly, I don't remember, but at that time it probably was Forth. I was interested in Forth at the time, so it probably was.
What do you remember about the process of making it? I mean, why did you feel like the world needed a calendar app, and why were you the one to make it?
I thought, well, my idea was to sort of integrate game aspects into productivity apps might be interesting thing to do. And I didn't really get very far with that mission. I was able to, explore with different color arrangements, and I really didn't get as far as animating things or getting things very gamey. But that was my idea. But in the end, it was just a very simple application for making notes in a calendar.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you kind of had the early idea for gamification of productivity software.
Yeah, I thought that would be something that would happen, but and it did, I guess, in some way. But my capacity to implement that at that time was, wasn't enough to really realize any great vision there.
Do you remember like any sort of ideas that you had in that, other than pretty colors and things?
Yeah, I thought things should be much more animated, much more responsive, in the sense of that it should be engaging, and every time you interact with it, it should feel like you're interacting with a game, where it responds to you and it draws you in, so that you, whenever you want to learn a new process, it would just kind of lead you in. And the way games do. I mean, the games are great at teaching people to do basically useless things, but they do teach people very effectively how to do all kinds of interesting but useless things. So my vision was, well, what if you could use that same technology to teach people to do useful things?
Right. Which kind of gets to one of the questions I was going to ask you, which is there's a couple of things in this program that are super interesting from a UI perspective. Like in the journal entry input page, there's like this location indicator that kind of shows where you are on the page and moves along. And it was kind of definitely a unique sort of input method.
Yeah, it was like a precursor to scroll bars.
Yeah, yeah. Where did that idea come from? Was that your idea? Had you studied UI design?
No, it was just my idea. Just how do we represent this, position within a larger page, and this little indicator seemed like a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
About the time that I finished SynChron and delivered to them, the Apple Macintosh was announced, and once I saw that, I thought, well, these guys have taken this to a new level. So then I worked on Apple Macintosh programs after that, because they'd already advanced the UI interface, the sort of systematic user interface way beyond where I had gotten.
Right. Do you know what drove your decision to use kind of a non-structured free-form input for the daily journal entries as opposed to something more field-based?
Yeah, I was convinced that the real people don't want to deal with a database format, and they want to be able to do things in a free-form way. And the way to collect and information is to let people type in freeform and then search and extract information from the text through search, rather than trying to get people to create a database with headers and tables and all of that, which seems daunting and really beyond most people's real needs.
After it came out, did it work? I mean, were you happy you stuck with it, or were people like, this should have been done a different way? Do you remember?
Yeah, I realized it was very limited in its scope, and so I hope people got good use out of it. I personally never used it myself as a calendar program. I just didn't. It just wasn't something I ever used. But it was very limited in what it could do. So. Sort of, again, as when the Macintosh came out, I realized, well, here's something where they've got a broader vision of integrated user interface design for the whole operating system plus all of the applications. And I thought, well, this is where we need to go.
Let's talk about your use of encryption. You did some simple cryptography to mask the user data, which was something kind of unheard of at the time. What brought that on?
I thought privacy was important even then, and so the encryption was really easy to break. It wasn't really, it was the sort of thing that a sophisticated teenager could break, but it was still, if somebody just wanted basic privacy, that would give it to them. And also, I had a password system where if you didn't guess the password correctly, you had to wait a little bit longer each time you missed it, so that somebody who was trying to break the password with brute force method would end up having to wait days and days for the next chance to make a guess. So, it was really basic security, but I thought, everybody deserves the right to privacy. So, and if somebody were to be using this as a diary, well, even ordinary diaries have a little lock on them, and that you should have that privacy if you want it.
Did you make money off this? Was it profitable for you?
I don't honestly remember what the outcome was. I mean, I was happy at the end. I remember I was very happy to get something in Toys R Us, and I think the Sharper Image was carrying it for a while, so I was delighted about that. And I think, I think I made money on it, but I honestly don't remember whether, if I added up all the hours I put into it, whether I actually made money, I don't know. But I don't think I lost money, but, and I had a great time doing it, but I don't really remember. I didn't have a bitter feeling about it, so I must have made money, because I never had a bad feeling about it.
I couldn't find any reference to any other programs that you made. Was this the only thing that you did?
I did something for X10, which was a Mac application for their home control software. after I did SynChron, that's what I did next. I didn't do anything else with the Atari after that.
Is there any chance you still have the source code for SynChron?
I honestly don't know. I mean, it may be on a hard disk somewhere, but I would be hard pressed to find it.
Well, if you ever find it and are willing to share it with the Atari community, that would be awesome.
Okay, if I stumble across it, I will do that.
Great. So many of the Synapse applications had Commodore versions, sometimes on the back of the disk, and SynChron was one of the few that didn't. Do you have any idea why?
Right, now I recall. They did ask me to do a Commodore version, but I really didn't want to learn yet another computer, and I decided I didn't want to take on that project.
Mm-hmm.
I just I saw the Apple Macintosh come, and I thought, well, that's the future. Commodore is not really the future.
Right. Good call.
I didn't want to take that one on. Yeah.
And this program, you were Y2K compliant, like in a big way. This program works like to the year 3200 or something ridiculous like that.
Right. Yeah, I had studied calendars. I did quite a bit of research on calendars before I started, and I realized that it wasn't that hard to make a calendar that would be that would range over a broad range of time. And I thought, well, it's not that hard. Why not do it? And who knows? I mean, I don't know why anybody would want that, but it was there if they did.
Well done, because many of those, as you know, many of those programs from those days died in 1999, and so if someone still wants to use SynChron, they can do that.
That would be really funny if SynChron still existed in the year 3000.
Right.
I hope the human race exists in 3000.
Yeah. All right. What haven't I asked you about that time that I should have?
That's one interesting thing was there was a young, arrogant, pimply-faced guy there named Will Wright, who was developing something called SimCity,
mm-hmm.
or later developed SimCity, and he had this meteoric career, and he always seemed really arrogant to me when I was over there at Synapse, and I realize now there was a reason why he was arrogant. He was super talented, and so he outshone all the rest of us. So that was one of my memories from Synapse.
Wow. So did you do your programming from home or from the Synapse office?
Mostly at home, and we did some bug fixes at the end over in their office in Richmond or Berkeley or wherever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great. It was great fun. I'm glad we did it, and it was just one of those little episodes in one's life.
Great. I think I have two more questions. First of all, what do you do today?
I'm retired. I have a small food farm, and I'm retired now. I do some political activist work, but mostly I'm retired.
Okay. If you could send a message to Atari computer users that still exist, and you can right now, what would you tell them?
Enjoy your hobby. It's a fun hobby. It's always fun to have a hobby and make the most of it. Have fun with it.
Awesome. Thanks, Harry. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the interview.
If you enjoy these interviews and would like to contribute something, I encourage you instead to donate to one of our favorite organizations, the Internet Archive, at archive.org. The Internet Archive is a nonprofit digital library with the stated mission of universal access to all knowledge. They've done incredible things to preserve computer history, including hosting thousands of programs in an in-browser Atari emulator, creating the Wayback Machine, and offering full-page scans of countless Atari computer books and magazines. Make your tax-deductible contribution at archive.org/donate.